What's going on, guys? This is John Zakari, and today I want to talk a bit about the upcoming Xbox Scorpio, as the confirmed specs were just released this morning in a really informative video by Digital Foundry, which I recommend everyone check out for a smarter, more in-depth look at this system. But breaking down this as a simpleton, we've got 8 custom x86 cores clocked in at 2.3 GHz, 40 customized compute units at 1172 MHz, 12 gigs of GDDR5 memory, a 1TB hard drive, and an optical drive that supports 4K UHD Blu-ray. But what does all that mean? Well, it's really powerful. But not only that, Microsoft seems to be going above and beyond into optimizing this thing on all levels to ensure peak performance. With things like DirectX 12 integrated into the hardware, according to Microsoft, the system will cut CPU rendering workload by about half in games that use DirectX 12 renderers. I'd like to also slip in here that audiophiles will actually be happy that the Xbox Scorpio will support Dolby Atmos, a newer surround sound format, and as someone who peruses Blu-ray and other theater forums fairly regularly, I know this was a feature that held many movie viewers back from picking up an Xbox One S to use as a gaming console as well as a 4K player, because it didn't support Atmos. With 4K Blu-ray players still sitting at kind of a high price point, the Xbox Scorpio may be enticing to theater folks looking for one box for all their media. To me though, the most interesting aspect of this video was hearing about the team over at Turn 10's story of porting the Forza engine over to the Scorpio. Apparently, they got the Forza engine running on the new system, outputting native 4K resolution, yes, I'll say again, native, and at 60 frames per second, in just 2 days. Not only that, it was using about 66% of the system's GPU. Now sure, that's just the base game running, no enhancements, and of course it is one of the best supported engines for the Xbox One, but there's also no optimization in this for the Scorpio. So it's fair to say that with time the game could be made to look a lot better without using too much of the system's GPU. A reason I found this interesting is because of the potential for doing Scorpio upgrades for past games. Microsoft has been all about the backwards compatibility lately, and it sounds like it would be pretty easy for developers to patch in software updates for their games, as again the system's power offers a lot of leeway. I'd argue that a much less painful process for developers will be more enticing. And as with the Pro, I'm all about getting these updated visuals automatically rather than buying like a remastered version of a game that I already own. Hopefully this is going to be more of the trend going forward. So sure, the thing is wicked powerful, seems like optimizing games for it will be fairly easy, but still, you need developers who are going to want to support this thing, and more importantly, consumers who want to buy it. And of course, with all this new info, Microsoft is still keeping that price point close to their chests. I've heard theories ranging all over the place from $400 to $800 and everywhere in between. If we're going to speculate, and of course, because I love talking value in video gaming, I'm going to speculate. On price, I'd simply say $500 is about the point where I'd be impressed as far as what you're getting at that price point. There, I could argue it's a good deal. $600 I would say is fine. It's acceptable. Anything higher than that, and I think Microsoft will be in store for a long winter with this thing. Also, taking a bigger hit on this does do two things, as no matter what, Microsoft is going to be losing money on this system. I just don't see any way around it. But obviously, a lower price point is always more attractive to consumers, but also, taking a bigger loss will tell the more hardcore fan base that you're betting big on this system, and I'd be more inclined to believe that you're going to be trying to get the big releases on it. And Microsoft has the capital. I mean, believe me, if the sleeping giant is ready to get back into the game and do so big time, they could easily start buying up exclusives and specifically marketing them for the Scorpio. They have the money to throw around, and perhaps that's why things have been so quiet on the Xbox One front. In fact, the Xbox One's life kind of reminds me of the Wii U. in that they both had really botched reveals that pretty much screwed them over in the long term. I will say though that Phil Spencer has really done everything in his power, it seems, to try to save the sinking ship, and that's one of the main things that interests me with the Scorpio. It's that Microsoft now has a head of Xbox who sees where things went wrong with the Xbox One, and this kind of seems like their way of trying to have a do-over with a firm head on their shoulders. And surely the added power will be enticing to developers right off the bat, as I mean, who doesn't want their games to look the best they can? So with that said, what does Microsoft need to do to sell people on this thing, as that's what I'm most interested in. As I've already said, price. That's going to be a big make or break point for the console. And of course, games. But what kind of games? Microsoft really needs some new IPs. Whether they be in-house or an exclusive they pick up elsewhere, I just don't see the same level of excitement out there for titles like Halo and Gears of War as I once did. Now, I do think something like a Halo 6 would make a big impact, but I think what Microsoft needs more is brand new experiences, something fresh to go along with the fresh start they're looking for. As far as games I know of currently in development, if I was a Microsoft employee, I'd be arguing to take a couple of buckets of cash and throw them right at Rockstar and CD Projekt Red. When it comes to games that I think are going to generate a lot of buzz and could make a big splash for a system in terms of exclusivity or specific features, the biggest ones I can think of right now are Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cyberpunk 2077. Sure, these are two games we know little about right now, but come on. Coming off of GTA 5, Rockstar's sequel to what I'd consider one of the single best releases of the last generation, Red Dead Redemption, and if you want to talk about hype and potential for a gorgeous game, an RPG with a sci-fi setting made by the team behind the Witcher games, I mean, with pretty much nothing shown on this game so far, I'd pre-order it right now if I could. And also there's VR, which we already know will come to the Scorpio in some form. When Phil Spencer was asked about VR on the system, he said it will come when games don't feel like, quote, demos and experiments. A sentiment I really agree with because I feel very similarly, as most of the games I've played so far in VR feel like some sort of tech demo, as there just aren't many full experiences that feel like they were built from the ground up with VR in mind. But since then, we've gotten word that Fallout 4 will be coming to the Scorpio with some sort of VR support. And back at last year's E3, we knew the game was currently in development for the HTC Vive. So I'd say there's a good chance we'll see some sort of partnership between the two to bring Fallout 4 and future VR content to the Scorpio. And again, with more power, porting VR experiences that may be designed specifically for PC will likely be much easier on the Scorpio. And speaking of PC, of course there will always be the drones out there parroting the whole, oh, just buy a PC master race type lines. But with Microsoft in particular, it will be hard, at least in my opinion, to sell this thing to someone who already owns or is considering buying a gaming PC. Because of the Xbox Play Anywhere program, people are already playing games like Gears 4 in 4K on their PCs. So can Microsoft do something to attract people in this camp to the Scorpio? I mean, I honestly can't really think of much, so having something up their sleeves to address this may be another make or break point for the console. So yeah, as with most consoles, the Scorpio will have tons of potential, but the business decisions made by Microsoft will determine whether or not the system will thrive. Reclaiming the crown as the most powerful gaming console is a fine first step for Microsoft, but this is just the beginning. With the PS4 Pro already established and supported by a robust library of exclusive titles, Microsoft needs a huge E3 blowout if they expect to make a comeback. Only time will tell. And with that, this video is a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the potential of the Xbox Scorpio in the comments. As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.